Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for taking time to be here today, joining me. Today's session is not about career advice in a traditional sense. It's not about quitting your job, chasing titles, or making individual moves. Today's conversation is for professionals who are doing well, but quietly feel something is off. You may be successful, you may be respected, you may even feel grateful, and yet there is quite a sense of stagnation that's hard to explain. So that's what we are exploring today. And I call this is something I called the golden cuffs opportunity. A few years back, I had a conversation with a professional who many people would describe as successful. Strong title, stable income, clear career path, nothing was wrong. And that's what made the conversation surprising because they said that I wake up every day knowing I'm capable of doing more, but I can't explain why I haven't moved. There was no anger, no, sadness, but there was and neither a frustration, but there was that quite awareness. And that moment stayed with me. Because it captured something in me, and I realized that high performing professionals experience these things, but they rarely talk about it. So today we are going to talk about the space between being successful and feeling fulfilled. And that's what I call the golden cuff opportunity, or the golden cuff of opportunity that we could say. So, what really is golden cuff? Golden cuffs are not about toxic jobs. They're not about the burnouts or the chaos. Golden cuffs are roles that look good on a paper. They're very stable. They provide comfort. There is decent income that comes from it. And they are often have a status. They are beyond the salary or the title. They often also include perks like extra paid vacations or flexible work hours or work from home, vacation homes, vehicles, company cars, transportation allowances. From the outside, when you look at it, everything appears fine. But on the inside, something has quietly shifted. And the challenge with the golden cuffs is that they don't hurt. They don't hurt. But and because they don't hurt, we don't really question them. So we tell ourselves it's good enough. And we slowly, gradually stop asking, is this still right for me? I'll give you a real world example. So we see often in the large respected organizations, for example, professional like in IBM or Electric General, they often speak about roles that are stable, prestigious, and secure. But these roles are highly structured. The brand is strong, the pay is good, it's very solid, the career path is clear, and yet many high performers quietly admit that they feel boxed in, not unhappy, just unchanged, right? So that's the difference. And that's what golden calf looks like in the real life. Why is it hard to leave? So it's hard to leave because I'll tell you one thing. Bad situation, they push us out. They create urgency. But when you are in a good situation, it does the opposite. It keeps you comfortable. And the comfort can surprisingly be very persuasive. And we never pay attention to it, but it's very, very persuasive because there is this persuasiveness comes from the fear. So there is this fear involved, and it's not the fear of failure. So just so that we get that, it's not the fear of failure, but it's the fear of regret. So we fear leaving something stable for something unknown. We fear disappointing others. We fear losing an identity that we have worked hard to build. And perhaps most importantly, we fear letting go what society tells us that we should be grateful for. So we say not because it's right, but because it's safe. So I'll give you another example. Like if you take an example of companies like Microsoft or Deloitte, many of these roles are supportive. But the mid-career managers in these companies are very well compensated and respected. So the work itself is not painful, but it's predictable. And leaving doesn't feel kind of urgent, because there's nothing wrong with the role. There's really nothing wrong. And that's precisely why people stay longer after the role has stopped stretching them. And I remember one of my student had worked for Deloitte, and when he moved here, he was very persistent for 2 years back and forth that we were communicating, that I had a privilege of teaching him. Everything was, I want to go back to Deloitte. I want to go back because he knew what it was. It was very well respected, very supportive, well compensated, and it was the comfort. And golden cuffs can also appear in terms of incentives. So there are different types of them. If you look at it, they go beyond the salary and the perks. This is a little bit more from them, like stock options. You have this restricted stock units that you buy, supplementary executive retirement plans that we have, large retention or signing bonuses, or company provided assets, as I said, vacation homes or vehicles or insurance policies that comes with the long-term benefit. So these incentives are often structured around the time-based milestones, right? So some are granted gradually as employee remains with the organization, others are paid out in upfront, and then it comes with the condition. So typically the agreement would specify that. And what really happens is that these then starts to become your golden cuffs, and they have these contractual restrictions. So, like non-competition clause, like if you're working for one news channel, you might have this clause that you cannot work for the competitor. The employee can't go. I'll give you another example. Like, for instance, senior executives at Apple and Salesforce, they always have this stock options or the senior retirement plan that I mentioned, and they come with the multi-year layer. So it's like a multi-layer vesting schedule. So leaving early could mean you're forfeiting hundreds and thousands of dollars in benefits, which create this subtle but powerful incentive to stay. And though you know that your role is no more feeling aligned with what you want. So, is there a cost? Yes, there is a cost. There is a hidden cost of staying too long. And here's the part that people don't calculate. The hidden cost is rarely the financial cost. The hidden cost itself is the cost of the time, the cost of the energy, and the slow erosion of the curiosity, the confidence, the creativity that you as an individual bring. So I will give you another very good example that we could look at it is that one day I was, and it's a real example. I was speaking to a professional, a senior professional who had been on the same role for quite some time, over 10 years. They were very well paid, very well respected, highly trusted. They were working for a very reputed global financial institution. And it was an institution that people inspire. They aspire to join, and it inspires them to excel. There was no crisis. Everything was good, no conflict. There was no reason to leave. But when I asked them what really excited them about their work, they paused. And after a long silence, they said to me that I don't dislike my job, but I don't recognize myself in it anymore. And that is the cost that comes in. It's a very quiet cost that comes in when you stay too long somewhere, and you let go of your stimulants. That's something that stimulates you or excites you. And believe me, this doesn't show up on your resume, but it shows up in how you relate to your own potential when you are working. And here, what I would really want you to do is if you could take a few minutes and pause and reflect on this question. I want you to answer this. If nothing changed in the next 3 years, how will that version of you feel? Not what your version will earn, not what your version will own, but how will they feel? If you really reflect on that, you will know in that instant that you're wearing golden cuffs or not. And some other subtle ways for us as an individual to identify if we are really wearing these golden cuffs is that we have to pay attention to the pattern because they will appear in patterns. So you may notice you are competent, putsch, you're no longer curious. It may be that you do your work very well, but it no longer challenges you. You also might feel Sundays, you know, they feel heavy, and Mondays are more like numbing. You find defending your role more than you enjoy it. And you often might be say, I should be really grateful, I have this job, it's paying well. And that's what I want you to really focus on, because that's one of the important truth is that gratitude and misalignment, they both can coexist together. So we can appreciate what the role has given us, and we still acknowledge that it no longer fits into what or who we are becoming. And this often comes up with senior specialists at companies like Amazon and Meta. They're very skilled, they're highly compensated, but their work has narrowed instead of expanded. And they become experts, but quietly they're bored. So there's no burnout. It's just that they're understimulated, right? And then it raises a question that, so how do we either navigate this or break free of this golden cuff? And as I said earlier, it's not about quitting your job. It's about you understanding what really is it costing you. So while golden cuffs can offer you financial security, remember that it comes with the cost of limiting your professional freedom and your long-term career satisfaction. So in order for you to successfully navigate that, you have to be very strategic, and you have to plan, and you have to be very well self-aware. So assess the true cost. That's the first thing you should do is look beyond that financial incentives. Consider your personal and professional cost of staying. Is your job satisfying you? Is your mental well-being there? Do you have a very good work-life balance? Is there any long-term goal? If you assess the true cost, then you can look at the contractual terms. That's the second step that you should do. And with the contractual terms, you try to understand that is there a repayment obligation, hidden or apparent? Uh, is there non-compete or exclusivity clauses? Is there vesting schedules? So you need to always look at your contract and look at it from uh, legal and financial aspect so that you can make an informed decision. And once you have that understanding and you're ready to grow or move on, then you plan your exit strategy. So if leaving is possibility and you're still planning, then plan in advance. So what you really want to do is have your offset, savings, like build your saving plan, expand your professional network so you have contacts, update your skills so that you remain competitive. This will reduce your dependency on your employer provided financial security, and it will empower you to see your own skills so that you can make an informed decision. And then you negotiate when possible. So higher performance, they can leverage that and negotiate the terms, extend the timelines, get an alternative compensation structures, have an open dialogue with your employer. Align all these decisions with what your long-term goals are. So ultimately, any decision that you take, whether it be to stay or leave, should be aligned with your long-term goal, especially your career goals and your lifelong goals, not just that financial gain or a short-term financial gain that you're getting. So when you are very tempted to stay bounded by these golden cuffs and not challenge, remain in the role but not grow, always think of it. What is my long-term goal? What is that greater long-term cost that I will be paying for when I stay within this role? And a very good example would be employees, the executives at Amazon. And there was a survey done and it was shared that though they have the retention bonuses and stock options and they have some attractive incentives, they have left anyway, and they have left it after very carefully planning, negotiating their partial vesting and expanding their network, because for them, the long-term growth was important in contrast to their short-term financial incentives that they could get with that job. So it brings us to one thing, and that is, how do you escape? So remember that today we are not talking about we want to run away from situations. It's about reclaiming your choice. Some people will stay, the other, and when they stay, they will redesign their role. Some people will prepare quickly, quietly, and then they'll move on without rushing. Some people will explore the possibilities and they will explore it without making announcements. There is no one single right answer or strategy. You look at your own circumstance and you decide that what would really fulfill me, because power is not in leaving. Power is knowing that you can leave, right? That's what it is. Like sometimes irrational decision like, oh, I quit, might not serve the purpose. I can quit because I know I have that skill or leverage or understanding or power, then that makes a difference. So power is not in leaving. Remember, power is in knowing that you can leave anytime. And again, one thing that I want to leave you with today is with this reflection that golden cuffs only tightens when you stop asking questions. They will tighten in your wrists. And the first thing that you can do to unlock it, the key of unlocking is it in you having the awareness. You don't owe your future an apology for outgrowing your past. But before we close today, I would leave you with one actually a couple of reflection questions that I want you to really reflect on. Is it, and you don't have to answer them right now to me, but you can take your time, think it over, and ask yourself that which part of my current role feels energizing, and which part feels heavy. And then look at it and ask, is my job title, if it disappeared tomorrow, what part of my work would I still want to keep? And if I'm staying because I'm choosing this, or am I staying because I feel safe, safer than the change? And then finally, what conversation have I been avoiding with myself? Because you have to really have a conversation with yourself to understand and answer these questions and resonate with it. So I really want to thank you for choosing today to be with me and taking today to understand what is the golden cuff of opportunity. Thank you so much for being here.